Tucker Carlson was at the White House just last week. He sat down with the president. He argued, according to people briefed on the conversation, against launching military strikes on Iran. He left. And then, in the early hours of Saturday morning, the bombs fell anyway. When ABC News chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl reached Carlson for his reaction, Carlson did not equivocate. He did not hedge. He did not offer the careful, calibrated criticism of a loyal supporter with concerns. He said 4 words: absolutely disgusting and evil. Then he added, this is going to shuffle the deck in a profound way. That is Tucker Carlson, the most influential media figure in Donald Trump's political movement, describing the president's war with Iran. And he is not alone. This week, a significant fracture inside Trump's coalition collided with a constitutional confrontation building in Congress. And both of those stories are unfolding simultaneously right now as U.S. service members are in combat and the bombs have not stopped falling. Let's go through it all carefully and in full. Start with the congressional story because it is the one with the most direct constitutional significance. The United States went to war with Iran on Saturday, February 28th, 2026. Congress was not in session. Congress was not asked. Congress was not consulted before the first missile left the first aircraft. The White House notified the Gang of 8, the 8 senior congressional leaders who received classified briefings shortly before the strikes began. That is confirmed by CBS News, PBS, and Roll Call, among others. The full 535-member Congress, whose sole authority to declare war is established in Article 1 of the United States Constitution, was scattered across the country. Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia is the lead sponsor of the Senate Iran War Powers Resolution. He is a member of both the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. After the strikes began, Kaine called them a colossal mistake and then said, "This is a disaster, it is illegal, and the president is obligated under the Constitution to come to Congress and ask for an authorization of military force. He wouldn't get that authorization if he asked for it." He added, "Every single senator needs to go on the record about this dangerous, unnecessary, and idiotic action." Kaine is now forcing a Senate floor vote this week under the procedural mechanism of the 1973 War Powers Resolution, which allows him to discharge his resolution from the Senate Foreign Relations Committee with a simple majority motion. In the House, the resolution is co-sponsored by Republican Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Democrat Khanna of California. Massie posted on X, "This is not America first." Khanna called on Congress to convene immediately. "Congress must convene on Monday to vote," he said, to stop this. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries and the full Democratic leadership announced they will force a House floor vote the moment Congress reconvenes. Representative Warren Davidson of Ohio, a Republican, reposted his earlier support for the War Powers Resolution on Saturday morning, publicly putting himself on record for the second time. Senator Rand Paul, the libertarian-leaning Republican from Kentucky, also opposed the strikes. The politics of this vote, however, are complicated. CBS News polling taken before the strikes found that 74% of Americans said the president needed congressional approval before using military force against Iran. He did not seek it. But on the other side of the ledger, most Republicans, particularly their leadership, are rallying behind the operation. Senate Majority Leader John Thune expressed support, and Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman broke from his party in the other direction entirely, posting on X, "President Trump has been willing to do what's right and necessary to produce real peace in the region." Here is the honest assessment of what a War Powers Resolution can actually accomplish, and it comes from the congressional experts at Roll Call and CBS News. Even if the Khanna-Massie resolution passed both chambers, which requires Republicans to cross the aisle in significant numbers, it would likely not have the force of law. As a concurrent resolution, it would not require the president's signature, and overriding a presidential veto requires a 2/3 majority in both chambers. The votes, at current count, are not there. Kaine acknowledged this directly, but argued the exercise has value beyond its immediate legal impact. He pointed to what happened with Venezuela, when a similar war powers resolution earlier this year began attracting Republican votes. Trump canceled what would have been a second military operation in Venezuela and agreed to hold public congressional hearings. Kaine said an unsuccessful vote on Iran can still exert real pressure. The vote, then, is a referendum. not a mechanism. Every member of Congress will have to stand up and say, on the record, whether they believe this war was legal. In a midterm election year, that is not a small thing. Now let's talk about the voices that Republicans did not expect to hear this weekend. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina appeared on NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday. Graham is one of the operation's most vocal supporters. When host Kristen Welker asked him directly, "Is the United States at war with Iran?" Graham answered, "I think the Ayatollah would say, yeah. I don't know if this is technically a war, but here's what I can say. The headline for me this Sunday is the mothership of terrorism is sinking. The captain is dead." He praised the operation as well done and said Admiral Cooper, the military commander, had produced an unbelievable plan. When asked about the strategy for Iran's post-war future, Graham said, "The future of Iran is going to be determined by the Iranian people. Our goal is to make sure it cannot become again the largest state sponsor of terrorism." When pressed on whether there is a plan to guarantee that outcome, Graham said, "It's not his job or my job to do this." He also said with conviction, "No boots on the ground. We don't own, this idea. You break it, you own it. I don't buy that one bit." Democratic Senator Chris Murphy on the same day said this, "Nobody in this country is asking for war with Iran. This president is intentionally tanking our economy, and Americans want him to focus on the crisis here at home. Instead, he is getting us involved in quagmires overseas that already are becoming deadly to American soldiers. This is a disaster. It is illegal. And the president is obligated under the Constitution to come to Congress and ask for an authorization of military force. He wouldn't get that authorization if he asked for it, but he's obligated to come to Congress." Murphy confirmed in a statement that has been widely reported that he believes the White House would lose a war authorization vote if it were ever actually held. On CBS News Sunday, Republican Senator Tom Cotton, chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, defended Trump's decision not to seek prior congressional authorization. When asked whether the American public deserved more than an 8-minute video on social media before the country went to war, Cotton said, "I thought the president's 8-minute video yesterday was outstanding. It laid out Iran's 47-year campaign of terror and revolutionary violence against the United States and our people." When pressed again about whether more was owed, Cotton said, "I'm sure the president is going to be speaking more in coming days. The administration will be briefing Congress, and we're going to have a vote in Congress." That left the Republican Party's most prominent media dissenters. Tucker Carlson's, quote, "absolutely disgusting and evil," delivered to ABC News' Jonathan Karl by text message, ricocheted across every political media outlet in the country within hours. Carlson had specifically visited the White House the prior week in what multiple sources described as an effort to retain his influence with the president and to advise him against the strikes. The bombs fell anyway. His condemnation was immediate and public. He added that the decision would shuffle the deck in a profound way inside Trump's political movement. He is right about that. Former Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, who resigned from Congress in January and has spent recent weeks openly feuding with Trump over foreign policy, posted a message on X that pulled no punches. Her exact words, "The Trump admin actually asked in a poll how many casualties voters were willing to accept in a war with Iran. How about 0? We voted for America first and 0 wars." In a second post, she wrote, "We said no more foreign wars, no more regime change on rally stage after rally stage. I did not campaign for this. I did not donate money for this. And it always feels like the worst betrayal this time because it comes from the very man and the administration who we all believed was different and said no more." That is not a Democrat. That is one of the most prominent voices in the Make America Great Again movement, saying to the movement's founder that he betrayed what he promised. Khanna, speaking on Meet the Press Sunday, put the political challenge plainly. "Is going to be very close, but I believe we will have every Democrat who wants to vote for another war in the Middle East." He noted that some House Democrats have already broken with leadership to oppose the War Powers Resolution, including Democratic Representative Greg Landsman of Ohio, who said the resolution would require abandoning U.S. allies and that the strikes were an attempt to prevent further war, not start one. And through all of this, the war continues. CENTCOM confirmed 3 American service members killed in action and 5 seriously wounded, the first confirmed American combat deaths of Operation Epic Fury. Oil markets opened with U.S. crude surging 12% and Brent up 14%. More than 3,400 flights across 7 major Middle Eastern airports have been canceled. The War Powers vote is coming this week. The battle for the soul of the Republican Party's foreign policy identity is already here. Stay with us. Stay.